Talofa lava, this is Pacific Waves from RNZ Pacific. I'm Susana Swiswiki. Coming up,
I know it is going to take time because it is very difficult also for everyone.
There's mixed feelings in New Caledonia over the deal, also tackling the rise of drugs and HIV in the region. And
the same mining company, the parent company TMC, is all of a sudden deciding it's going to abandon the international system.
Deep sea mining in Tonga under scrutiny. The New Caledonia deal, touted as historic by French President Emmanuel Macron, seems to be receiving mixed reactions from the public in New Caledonia. Both anti- and pro-independence parties signed the 13-page document, which calls for the French Pacific Territory to be a state within the French realm. I spoke with Kanak businesswoman Christiane Wanesi and began by asking her how she felt about the deal.
Well, like many people here, of course, it's like a relief because finally they found an agreement altogether with the French Republic. So it has been a long process. I think 10 days of negotiations. So now we have an accord, okay. We have an agreement. There is also an important step, a legal step for this agreement is when the population in New Caledonia will be having a new referendum in Feb, if we accept or not. But for me, there is also a very important step is the general elections next year. We call here the provincial elections.
Why do you see the provincial election as important? As an important step, sorry.
I see the provincial and general elections as an important step because I guess it is going to be the first episode of the implementation of this new accord. Now, in the paper, we have a state, okay, a new state, but we need also to be a new nation. And I know after the unrest last year, I know it is going to take time because it is very difficult also for everyone to step up and say, okay, we start something all together. We need time, of course.
Okay, this agreement though, it's not granting New Caledonia full independence. Is that something you agree with?
I can't answer to this question because myself, I'm not an expert on regulations or legal aspect of the accord. Maybe we need time to see how the population here will accept or will reject. But the population is, the fact that we have a signature and everyone is maybe enthusiastic or against the accord. We need also to see and to assess how our population, how the Kanak community, how the other communities, and how they will live in this accord.
I know you said that it's going to take some time to see whether the general population will accept or reject this agreement, but you yourself, have you spoken to other Kanak people? What are they saying?
I have 2 or 3 different sounds. Some are not happy with this agreement because they say, where is the sovereignty? Where is the sovereignty? Where is Kanaki? What is the place for Kanaki in this agreement? And some are just saying, yes, it is a new accord. It's our commitment. It's our responsibility to put concrete things in this agreement and make it work. And I have also another sound. It's not for us. It's not for the population. It's for the mining companies. This agreement is for the mining companies. So you see, we are still wondering, not only myself, of course, but when I hear all the different people, and mainly from my Kanak community, I can say that there are unclear zones in the agreement, and the political leaders, they need to be maybe careful when they will explain the contents.
Leaders in both health and law enforcement have been in Suva for the Pacific Regional and National Security Conference. Priority item number 1 has been the organised drug trade, and downstream from that, the spread of HIV. Kaya Selby has more.
When it comes to tackling organised crime and its consequences, Pacific leaders are promising to cooperate more.
We need to continue open up and discuss matters. We talk about issues, we share information, we share resources, and we help each other.
That's Fijian Police Commissioner Rusiate Tudrave. He says even though island nations are sharing what they don't have all that much.
Pacific Islands are limited to the resources that we have, but we need the partners that are out there, our bigger brothers. They need to come on board because what we are doing in the Pacific also affects them.
But when it comes to collaboration, law enforcement is increasingly at odds with the public health sector as drug-driven HIV transmission surges in Fiji, threatening the whole region. That's according to Dr. Jason Mitchell, the chair of Fiji's HIV Response Task Force.
But I think for me it's really seeing actually what happens when our health and our security forces are not working together. I think a lot of times when we're trying to introduce strong public health interventions, there's opposition oftentimes from our law enforcement agencies. So I think it's for us sitting on the panel today is really understanding how both our areas of work actually impact on each other.
Dr. Mitchell says that he and the police commissioner are finding time after the conference to sit down and have a chat.
Problems resulting from a cyber attack on Tonga's health information system look to have been resolved. The assault on the system led to a demand by the hackers for $1 million ransom. Our Tonga correspondent Kalafi Moala told Don Wiseman about the latest developments.
The system was hacked, health information system, and they asked for payment of $1 million to have the system back. The government or the Ministry of Health refused to make any payments. In the meantime, they called for help to Australia, who sent their expertise to help them out. The way the Minister of Health described it was that it was within 48 hours they were able to call for help, and immediately there was a response, and it was very, very key in helping them restore the system.
The presumption has always been that these villains located overseas. Do we know any more about that?
No, there's nothing that has been revealed, or at least that have been disclosed from the ministry, other than the fact that they're from overseas. They couldn't put a face to them. In other words, there were not any individuals, just that there was a group that did that. But the talk, of course, the guesses in town is that they probably there's a group overseas that had local connections that did the hacking.
The Australians have left. Have they left a system in place that's stronger than it was before?
They made that announcement. The Minister of Health made that announcement yesterday, saying that the system has been fully restored. She used the term, said there's still some gaps, but they're back into it. And I think with the restoration of the system, they also have had a backup, so that if this thing happens again, they've got a backup to the information system.
Tongans who had health issues or have health issues had been told that they needed to take what information they had, handwritten, I guess, information they had, to take that into appointments, outpatients appointments and so on. That's not still happening?
Well, no, that's not happening. But I mean, they were basically responding to the shock that came from people saying, well, what's going to happen to us now if we're going to go in? Some of the patients don't even know the kind of records they get, for example, things that they're allergic to, the kind of medication and its details that they were given. So the restoration of the system really recovers all of that without having the patient to be able to come into the hospital and try to bring up all that information. So I think it's really good, and it's returned to what it was.
I guess the officials in health were very concerned about things, and so were the government. But to what extent did it bother the people?
Well, it really was a scare for people. Because the immediate response was, what does this mean for me? The thing is, a patient, that I've got my own personal information in somebody else's hands, who's a criminal, who are not only stole it, but basically are demanding money for the returning of that information. But I think also, Don, one of the issues is that Tonga is turning to become digital in so many of its services. Like you go to apply now for a birth certificate, marriage certificate, and all those things are being now, including visas, are being now done digitally. And so that transition, it means that all the government systems are going to be digital. And so this hacking that took place, it's like a warning, I guess, that we need to be careful in what we're doing, and we need to have backup systems, and that security is so important as Tonga is becoming more digital, at least in its government services.
Still in Tonga, deep-sea mining continues to attract attention. Last week, the Lord Speaker held a debate at Parliament on the practice, broadcast live on Facebook. The videos had 10,000 views. Te Wila Fotai spoke to international environmental lawyer Laurie Osmondson, who participated.
I have been involved in the deep-sea mining arena for 3 years now. So I was working other ocean management and marine conservation issues for many years before that, and got interested in deep-sea mining, particularly when it started to get really sort of a high-level issue in the Pacific region, which is close to my heart. So the Speaker of the Tongan Parliament convenes these sorts of debates from time to time on leading issues of the day. And I had been doing some work specifically here in that arena in Tonga over the past 2 years, and have been to Tonga to do presentations on the topic.
Just before we turn to the debate itself, you mentioned that you've been doing work around deep sea mining in Tonga for a couple of years now. What have you been doing?
I was asked by the Civil Society Forum of Tonga to undertake a very comprehensive overview, look at sort of the whole spectrum of Tonga's ocean-related laws and existing legal framework in country, as well as Tonga's international legal obligations via various conventions and treaties, to see what the framework is for Tonga, legally speaking, in terms of any sort of involvement now or in the future with deep-sea mining. And then the result of that research I did, I wrote a 60-page report and delivered that to the Civil Society Forum of Tonga, and they had public presentations here in Tonga on that. And then last year, I was again requested by the Civil Society Forum of Tonga to do a white paper, which was taking a sort of a very focused look at the advantages and disadvantages of Tonga's potential involvement with deep-sea mining, sort of encompassing not only the legal sphere, but as well as economic risks, scientific, gaps in scientific knowledge, and downsides environmentally.
Then let's go to Thursday night. You've explained that you were asked to speak. So basically then I suppose what the main points of your presentation were.
My presentation was mainly focused on the legal risks and challenges that Tonga faces with regard to deep-sea mining. And I was basically pointing out that, there is a current contract between the government of Tonga and a mining company, a local subsidiary of a larger company called the Metals Company, and the local subsidiary here in Tonga is called Tonga Offshore Mining Limited, or TOML. It was signed in 2021 by a former Prime Minister with I think, very little knowledge of others in government, and certainly next to no knowledge of this particular contract by the public at large. And it's a concern because the terms of the contract are heavily skewed in favor of the company and put certain legal restraints on the Tongan government. Now, the current lay of the land is that there's been actually no exploitation, no recovery of minerals from the nodules on the deep sea floor. No one in the world has done that commercially yet. But there's been all of these steps that have been in place to prepare for that. And this contract between Tonga and TOML is part of that. And one of the points that we're trying to make is that even though the current situation is that this company, Tonga Offshore Mining Limited, and TMC, its parent company, have been involved only in exploration, the contract right now between Tonga and the company also extends to mining itself. And there's an automatic extension clause in that contract, which means even though, the activities right now are at the exploration level, once TOML gets an exploitation license, the contract still continues and covers that phase.
Of course, but from your analysis, what you're saying is the concerning part about this contract between Tonga and TOML is it locks the Tonga government into the contract with TOML, and therefore if it wants to engage with another company, it doesn't seem like it would be able to?
Yep. There are provisions in the contract where TOML can decide it wants to just basically call an end to the contract without repercussions. But conversely, and this is part of the imbalance in the contract terms, it is exceedingly difficult for Tonga to try and withdraw from the contract if it decides at some point before, the end of 2050 or whatever, that it changed its mind or it wanted to go with another partner, or it just decided it didn't want to proceed with the DSM at all anymore. The conditions for Tonga to try to do that are extremely, extremely difficult.
RNZ Pacific has also reached out to Tonga Offshore Mining Limited and the Tonga government for comment. That's Pacific Waves for today. For all episodes, head over to rnz.co.nz/Pacific. We're also on Spotify, Apple and iHeartRadio. From myself and the RNZ Pacific team, tō whā, soi fua.